post it, so you can watch it again. So Vincent, before we start, can you tell us who you are and how long have you been working with Rocher Group and what do you do at Rocher Group?
So I'm Vincent Nida. I'm a Deputy CEO in charge of the premium beauty division and the new businesses. I've been with the group for about 2.5 years, and I've been enjoying every single day in the group. So basically, what I oversee the beauty brands, except the brand Yves Rocher, and I look at everything which is around innovation and new businesses.
Excellent. So my first question will be, after these 12 months of COVID crisis, I guess, all the companies have been impacted, by the COVID. So how the group, performed in the last 12 months, and what is the situation after this? Well, we are envisaging the beginning of the end of the crisis. So what is the situation with Rocher Group?
Well, it's been, I think, as for everyone, it's been a rough year, and it still feels like 2020 isn't over because we're still in the middle of the crisis. But we had over 100 days of closure of our retail stores, and they account for 50% of our sales. But I think we've, and really the teams have been doing an incredible job adapting to the situation. There's been a lot of creativity, and we've managed the storm pretty well. And we finished the year 2020 in a low single-digit decrease, which, considering the context and considering our exposure to retail, was actually a pretty good performance. So, if I think about 2020 and when the crisis hit, we had basically 3 priorities. The first one was the safety of our employees. And we switched immediately to 100% working from home, except of course for the factories and distribution centers and the labs. And we still are in that mode today because we want to make sure that our employees are safe. The second priority, and which was really at the same time, was to deploy very quickly a lot of solidarity actions to help hospitals, medical staff, and of course our staff in the factories. So, we were able in just 1 week to transform our factories and produce hundreds of thousands of hydroalcoholic gel, produce masks in our Petit Bateau factory, hand creams, and send them to the hospitals in France, but actually all around the world. And the third priority was to ensure that we would still be here today, not just standing on our feet and healthy, but that the business would be secured. And really what happened in year 2020 was a huge shift to digital, I think, as many companies. But we were a business that was that had a share of digital, which was, I would say, around 30% of the business before the crisis, and today it's over 50%. So we are a digital first company today. And the last element, which was, I would say, the green thread throughout the year, is that one thing that, was sacred to us was that we stayed focused on our mission, which is to reconnect people to nature. And all investments that were planned around our mission were sacralized and were kept, and we kept moving on all the actions around that, because this is who we are. We're not just here to sell products. We're here to reconnect people to nature, and that is something that we can't compromise on.
Really impressive, and I like the way that you take care not only of the environment, but also of the people, which is really important in this very complicated time. Most of the large group, they tend to say people stay away, go back, and instead you still invest in people, you still invest in nature, you still invest, in this mission. So talking about mission, tell us, for our audience, tell us more about, what is a mission-driven company and what is behind these 3 words?
So, the group has been a mission-driven company since its origin. And you saw it a little bit in the video, but really Mr. Yves Rocher, who founded the company, was really in a mission to make people benefit from all the benefits of nature, but harm the nature as little as possible. And we know that as an industrial and as a company, you use natural resources, you pollute, but really his mission was to show that there was a different way of doing business that respected the planet. And one of his words was, you have to leave the planet in the same condition or in a better condition than the one that you found when you were born. We became a mission-driven company in the eyes of the French law in October 2019. What it means is, a little bit like the benefit corporations in the US, it means that we put our mission and associated objectives in the bylaws of the company. So it's a commitment, because once it's in your bylaws, you have to follow through, and you have to reach these objectives. And there's an independent organism that checks every year that basically you're in line with what you have committed to doing. Our mission is to reconnect people to nature. And this really comes from the belief of Mr. Yves Rocher and the belief of the Rocher family, because we're a family-owned company, that nature has a positive impact on people's well-being. And actually, this has been scientifically proven. But we also believe that by reconnecting people to nature and by making them benefit from the benefits of nature, it will foster also their desire to protect nature. So the objectives associated to that mission are to promote the link between our communities and nature, to protect the biodiversity in the regions where we're present, to encourage responsible consumption, to offer well-being experience thanks to the benefits of nature, and also to make Legacy, which is our hometown, a kind of symbol of a virtuous ecosystem. We really want to show that there is a way of doing business which is a very responsible way, and Legacy is a very good symbol for that.
Excellent. Well, we're going to come back to this point later. For our audience, watching, the interview, let's come back, to the structure of the group. And how will you describe, the structure of the group? Because you have different branches, you have different activities. So can you give us more detail on how you are organized so far?
So Groupe Rocher is a group of about 3 billion euros with 10 brands. As I said, it's a family-owned company, and we're basically on 4 categories. We're on beauty, the beauty category, wellness with supplements, home care, and textile with Petit Bateau, children's clothes. So our most famous brands are Yves Rocher, which bears the name of our founder. Arbonne, which is a B Corp American company that sells plant-based supplements and beauty products. We have Petit Bateau, which is a clothing brand for babies and children. We have Sabon, which is an Israeli brand that does natural beauty, body and skincare products, very strong in Asia. We have Dr. Pierrico, which is a French anti-aging skincare brand. And a few other brands. So basically, the group is like a holding company, I would say, with that hosts these different brands and with some shared services across the brands.
Perfect. And so you have also the foundation, you have the family office and the group and the different brands. And is there any coordination between the 3 bodies that are driving, I would say, the vision and the strategy, or are they 3 different bodies that works independently?
So there are obviously 3 independent organizations. The family office is actually the holding company that owns the group.
Okay.
So that owns the group but also invests in other activities. We have the foundation, which is in France, reconnu d'utilité publique, so which is independent. It has to be independent. And maybe we'll come back to that and to the activities of the foundation. And then we have the group that manages the operations of the brands I mentioned. Now, even though they're three separate entities, I would say they work in harmony and in synergy towards, you know, the same mission of the group, which is to reconnect people to nature.
Excellent. What is, because I understand with the introduction, with what you said, that there is a lot of nature, you know, behind the product that you develop, and you want to reconnect the man with nature. And what is the science behind this motto? Is there just pure marketing, or is it something that is really, I would say, in roots in research and that can deliver, you know, strong innovation?
You know, when the company was created in 1959, Mr. Yves Rocher was really convinced that nature, you know, had all the solutions for health and well-being. He created and the first, you know, botanical beauty. Created botanical beauty in a way in 1959, at a time where, you know, everything was around chemicals and the science of synthesis molecules, etc. And everybody told him, "You're never going to succeed." You know, natural beauty, it's old-fashioned. No one uses plants anymore. It's all about chemicals. But since 1959, we've been, you know, researching, studying, and developing a wealth of knowledge around natural botanical ingredients, around their assimilation by skin, around the ingredients themselves, and this knowledge is actually a very in-depth knowledge, because we're a vertical company that we're also farmers, and you've seen it in the video. We have our own fields. We grow our ingredients. We grow them organically, and we don't just do, you know, organic agriculture. We do agroecology. So we make sure that we consider the environment, the biodiversity around our fields, to make sure that the activity is not harming anything around our fields. So, you know, we never harvest 2 years in a row the same species. We change every year so that the soil stays very rich. In the winter, we put we call couvert, which anybody who's in agriculture would know that, but different species to basically put nitrogen in the soil to make it even more rich. So we know, really, I would say, plants from the seed and from the earth to what we put on the skin. And I think that's a very strong advantage that we have on all the companies, that we know what we talk about. And we have 60 years of experience around that. And we're lucky also to have really state-of-the-art labs that study these elements. So it's not greenwashing. It's we've been doing green beauty for 60 years, and you know, sometimes it's I would say it's annoying to see companies that claim a lot of things, and when we're rather humble in what we claim. It's great to see that everybody's coming to natural beauty, to green beauty. I think it's the more we are, the better for people and for the planet. But I would say, you know, everybody isn't as serious about green beauty and botanical beauty than we are. There is some greenwashing done by some people.
And we know Rocher Group for quite a long time, and we can guarantee that there is no greenwashing behind this. It's genuine. And on that very point, can you elaborate a little bit more about your carbon capture strategy, which is really fancy these days, but what do you have in mind? Because growing organic, capturing the carbon is so cool these days. Is there behind this a strategy that will I'd say, involve other partners, convince farmers around the world, to work on that? Or is it something that is just pure marketing again?
No, it's not. I mean, being a low carbon emission, and we say low carbon emission because there's no zero carbon emission.
Yeah.
When we say zero carbon, it means that either because when you produce, you have to produce carbon. So
It has to be
either
compensated, yeah.
you resell some energy, which is a possibility, but you still produce carbon. So we aim at becoming a low carbon company, and it's a holistic and multifaceted task. It starts from the conception of the products, and we're extremely focused on eco-conception. We look at the whole scope, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. It's about green transport. It's about energy optimization. We've made significant investments to increase the portion of electricity and heat generation that comes from renewable sources. So today it's about 80% of the group's electricity consumption. It will be 100% by 2025. So it's really looking at the global scope, and I think no one is perfect in that respect. Of course, we also plant trees. I mean, it's one of the activities of the Yves Rocher Foundation, and maybe we'll get back to that. But it's a big activity. We don't count that as a compensation of our carbon emissions. We do it because there is a need to fight against deforestation, and we need to plant trees. We don't buy bonds, to lower our carbon impact, because it's not being honest. I think being honest and being an actor is reducing your emissions, and this is the fight.
Do you estimate that you're a leader in the field in France compared to your colleagues in the cosmetic industry or to any of the industry in France?
I mean, I think we started early, and it's always been, top of mind for us. For us, CSR isn't really the cherry on the cake. It's the cake. So being responsible and preserving our environment is part of our business model. So I would say, yes, we do have a certain leadership in that field. I'm very happy to see that a lot of companies are moving the needle, and it's great because we need everyone to act. So we don't see that as being a competition. We see that as people joining the movement, and I think it's great. And I think it's great that more and more companies are acting.
When I visited your headquarters near Paris, I was really impressed by the tree, in the entrance hall. And maybe you can explain to our audience how committed, the staff from the group is, towards this CSR strategy as well.
It's one of the recruitment filters that we have, is that we want to make sure that we hire people who believe in the mission and who are mission driven. And there's no better way for employees to be motivated than to work for a purpose. So it's quite amazing, and it's really, when I joined the company 2.5 years ago, that's really what struck me too, is how passionate, how committed the teams are. And there's no small effort, there's no small gain. It's every drop counts, and everybody acts, not only for the company, but even on a personal level. It's very interesting to see that people try to be better citizens, at home too. I learned a lot of things, and I've become much more eco-conscious also after joining the company.
So I know that today we won't talk a lot, about the sea, the ocean, and what we can extract from the ocean. Just one question, because there is no, I say, barrier between the coastline and the ocean. And when it comes to bioplastic, this is something that becomes, essential, because that most of the people are complaining about plastic because they're using fresh water, they're competing with food stock, and sometimes it's pure greenwashing that we're developing. So one of the options is coming from seaweed, and you've been doing a lot of work on the packaging. So can you tell us more about, your strategy in terms of renewable packaging, end of life, recycling, and maybe give us some hints on what could be, the next generation of packaging that you want to develop?
Yeah, clearly, I mean, packaging is a very important area of focus, and I would say waste in general, because single usage of anything is unbearable. So we have already taken a lot of significant actions. Brice, in the video, was mentioning that 10 years before the French law imposed us to do so, we committed to stop and to ban plastic bags from our stores. But we were really committed to reducing packaging waste and to accelerate our policy to reuse, recycle, refill our components. So we've taken a lot of actions, and to be honest, it's never enough, and we have to keep working hard around that. But in the past 10 years, we've reduced our plastic consumption by over 20%. So it's over 1,000 tons of plastic that were saved, and we're committed to reducing it by another 30% by 2030. But one thing which I've also noticed in the group is that we always do more than what we commit to. Somehow we're very humble in the objectives that we announce publicly, but we always do much more. So I'm sure that we will do much more than what we committed to. We've switched already all our PET bottles to 100% recycled and recyclable PET. So that was since October 2020, meaning that we save around 3,000 tons of virgin plastic every year. That's a lot of virgin plastic. By 2030, we are committed to using only 100% recyclable and recycled plastic for all components. It seems obvious, but it's not that easy, because the recycled material, one, it's more expensive. So we don't do it for economic reasons. It's more expensive today to buy recycled plastic than to buy virgin plastic. It sounds crazy, but that's the way it is. It's very hard to get the quantities that you need. So we need to secure the quantities, and we've secured the quantities for the 10 years to come. And that's probably one point that's difficult when you're a smaller company, is that it's strong commitments with strong financial commitments. We're also trying in everything that we do to reduce, the amount of material that we use. So, for instance, we've developed an eco bottle, or eco shower gel and eco shampoo. So it's a combination of a formula and a packaging, which enables us to basically have the equivalent of 400 milliliters in 100 milliliters. So we save 75% of plastic. We use carton boxes from our factories in Brittany to create gift boxes and auto packaging. So we recycle also the waste that we have from things coming from our suppliers, etc. We've committed to remove all the plastic cellophane around our carton boxes, but we will go further. We're studying, no outer carton for all our products. There is obviously the necessity to have something to protect the products, especially with e-commerce becoming the main. So having just bottles is not always easy, but we're developing solutions that will enable us to do so. We have creating a blowing facility in our factory, preventing us from transporting the bottles to the factory. So we blow them in the factory, refill them. So that's another way to reduce also the carbon emissions related to transportation. We are testing some full circular loop systems. So at Arbonne, for instance, we're gathering used jars and bottles from our consumers. We have an industrial cleaning process in our factory, and then we reuse these jars and bottles to refill them and resend them to the consumers, with always the objective of having as little possible elements that will go to the waste. And we have many other initiatives underway. We're testing refill stations where consumers can come with a bottle and refill. We're working on upcycling. upcycling or reusage, for Sabon, for instance, which is a brand with beautiful packaging. We are teaching our consumers to recycle them and making vase or planting seeds in the jars, or etc. And of course, we're looking at all alternatives to plastic. Our dream is to find and to find one way which would be a plastic-free and 100% circular packaging solution. You mentioned. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you mentioned biomaterials, and of course we're looking very closely at that. We've looked at algae-based bioplastic. We've looked at some suppliers who claim that they have biodegradable components. The truth is that today there is no biodegradable component that is actually really biodegradable by nature. Some can be biodegradable if you put them in industrial compost, but there's no identified industrial compost sorting today in most cities in the world. You don't have a bin for industrial compost. So yes, maybe if you put it in industrial compost, it would work, but who has access to that? So this is, I would say, it's greenwashing. It's great. It's greenwashing. It's not greenwashing. It's greenwashing if you say that it's fully biodegradable. I think it's great because it enables to move the needle and move forward. And one day we will find a way to have fully biodegradable solutions. But algae bioplastic, for instance, is not recyclable. So
yeah, right.
It's plastic.
But, I think that many solutions are coming to the market. It might be a bit early. I think that some of these seaweed polymers are the most eligible for this type of new type of biomaterial. But we need to invent, the recycling system and, the distribution system that will cope, with the demand and adapt, the product, to the market and the consumer. Because when you have a water-soluble polymer, it means a lot, but it means also that you need to change the way you consume the product and you buy them. So I agree with you, and we are at the early stage of this new development. Talking about this,
our products are, cosmetic products. It's a lot of water in it. So if the outer component is water soluble, you need to make sure that you can ensure the preservation of the products, and that's the challenge. But there are some encouraging moves.
We are working on this with a few partners, and most of the answers will come from protein barrier that you had, to the natural polymers. But we don't want to get into technicalities, today. And that leads me to another important question: the way you communicate, towards your customers. It's a wide range of customers that you have from North America, Europe, Asia, all over the world. People are buying your products. And how do you communicate with them, both on the CSR, on the environmental challenges, on the way they should be new, well-educated consumers? So how do you cope with this digitalization aspect? And what did you do in the last 5 years to get towards the consumer in his life and be connected in even more stronger way?
We have one incredible chance and an advantage is that we have a direct relationship with all our consumers. We don't sell through retailers or wholesalers. Everything is sold either through our own retail, through our own digital, through mail order, through social selling, but in a way we have a direct relationship also with the consumer. So we are in direct contact with our consumers, and that was also one of the key focuses of our founder. It was to make sure that we had a direct relationship with our consumers and that we would treat them well. Today, beyond treating them as queens, which was one of his words too, we believe that we have a responsibility to teach and to Also to de-dramatize and not make our consumers feel guilty. You know, it's true that there's a lot of guilt, and guilt can be paralyzing. So always telling people, you know, you're not eco-friendly, you're not eco-conscious, etc., is not the right way to do. I think it's our role to teach our consumers simple ways of just being a better citizen. We have started, it's a big initiative for the group. We have started a nature academy, which is a university, I would say, that will teach first our employees, 16,000 employees, but also very quickly our beauty advisors, our social selling consultants, and tomorrow our consumers and whoever wishes to attend these lessons, to teach them the key elements that the planet, the key challenges that the planet and biodiversity are facing today, teach them how to do sustainable development, how to have eco-friendly gestures, etc. And this is something that we feel is our duty as a company, is to teach and give knowledge, and not just, you know, sell products and show models and etc.
Yeah.
Knowledge is also important.
I'd like to go back to the science. You're a natural ingredient provider, and you're connected to nature. But what is the limit that you can accept in terms of nature? I'd like to touch base on the synthetic biology. We know that we can reproduce. It's more and more complicated, you know, to source some of the ingredients. And with microalgae, we have the potential that is barely untouched. And sometimes to accelerate the production of rare ingredients like this short chain of peptide that could be collagen or elastin, you have, you know, to help nature to accelerate the production using synthetic biology. Is it something that for Rocher means no-go, or is it something that you will consider in the future, or are you considering this now?
You know, the first thing that I would say is that we're extremely cautious about the way we use natural resources, because being being a botanical beauty company and selling plant-based products also means that we have a responsibility. I can take the example of Petit Bateau that uses a lot of, you know, cotton, for instance. We're moving towards 100% organic cotton because we don't want to push massive farming with GMO, etc. Because this will have a long-term impact also on the balance and the biodiversity. So we're very careful about the sources, the sourcing of our ingredients, to make sure that it's renewable sourcing, that it's responsible sourcing, and this is clearly always at the top of mind. Now, this being said, of course, if there is a green technology, green science that enables us to develop or to produce some of the key ingredients that we can find in plants, this is something that we could consider. We already do it actually today in a way, because we've been studying microalgae for 40 years now. We have a facility on the Watt Island in Brittany, and we produce microalgae. We don't use the microalgae that are in the ocean because they're responsible for 55 to 70% of the oxygen that we breathe. So we don't want to take them from the ocean. We need them, but we've found a way to synthesize them in a natural way, and to use them as ingredients for some of our products. So we already do it in a way.
And is it I would say not confidential to ask you what type of strain that you're working on? Is it cyanobacteria or really microalgae strains?
We work on microalgae. I mean, I'm not I'm not a
Yeah.
scientist, so I think I'm not the right person to get into the
Okay.
details. But we work on microalgae, and it's actually an area that we're since we're on biomarine. I think it's a good place to talk about it. But it's really an area that we want to further investigate and invest on. So if there's anyone in the audience that is a specialist in microalgae and that wants to enter in contact with us, and why not do some partnership to advance the research on that area, I would be very interested.
Yeah, that was the purpose of the question, because I have some very interesting blue nuggets, and Ghislaine is online today listening to what we're doing. And we are trying, to establish this strong partnership with industry partners like you to advance the technology in a very sustainable and I would say totally transparent way. We don't talk about GMO because this is not part of our scope, even at BioMarine. The main difference with the cosmetic in Europe is that sometimes at BioMarine we consider the low trophic species when they are cultivated, not harvested. But I totally agree with you, and it has to come, to an end. And one day or another, all the animal species will be banned, from the utilization in cosmetic. So it's better to anticipate that and see if nature, could produce this natural protein that we're going to use from animal source. I agree. That brings me back to the foundation and the amazing work that you're doing at the foundation. So you're planting trees, and you have also some commitment to the mangrove in Madagascar, if I remember well. Or is it mangroves or just the forest in Madagascar?
So the foundation. So we have two foundations, but the Yves Rocher Foundation has basically four main areas of action. The first one, and you mentioned it, is the program Plant for Life, which was born after a meeting between Jacques Rocher and Wangari Maathai, the Peace Nobel Prize. We've been through this program planting trees in 35 countries for the past 13 years, and we just celebrated our 100 millionth tree planted. And we pledge to keep planting 10 million trees per year, around 10 million trees per year in the coming years. It's very important. We don't plant it. We could plant it using drones and sending seeds everywhere. We plant it in a very responsible way. We make sure that they're species that respect biodiversity, that will help agriculture, that will help the population in the communities where we plant. We do it with the communities, not against them. So it's a very important program, and it started from the idea of planting 1 million trees 13 years ago, and we've planted 100 million trees and more to come. The second program that we have is Terre de Femme, which has been rewarding for the past 20 years. We're celebrating the 20 years this year. Women, which we think are heroic and who act in favor of the preservation of the planet and the environment at the locally. Then we have a photo festival in Legacy, which showcases every year amazing photographers with the objective of raising the awareness on the challenges faced by our planet. We have about 400,000 visitors now that come to visit that festival. So, progressively we raise the awareness around us. And last, we have a program around plants and biodiversity that supports scholars, botanists, scientists to learn about biodiversity, preserve, and raise the awareness on the protection of biodiversity. So yes, we have worked on mangroves because they're extremely important to biodiversity. We also have a program around coral, planting corals with the Daniel Jouvence Foundation, where same thing, we're trying to plant coral hearts to basically coral has been, there's a lot of fishing by dynamite fishing that of course hurts the corals, and has a very negative impact on biodiversity. So, we're trying also little by little to recreate biodiversity through underwater coral forests.
And I'm very excited about this part because this is more the biomarine part. But for me, there is a continuity between the land, the coast, and the ocean. And for me, the forest that is in the ocean is as important as the rainforest. And
Absolutely.
especially when you know that seaweed can capture 4 more times carbon by square meter, it's important to educate people on the value of this underwater forest. And what we did in 10,000 years is absolutely dramatic. The west coast of Europe was covered with kelp and seaweed forest. And if we just plant 1/10 of this former forest back, we're going to achieve all our objective in terms of carbon capture.
Yeah.
And this is, something people should realize. It's not for us, it's for the next generation. And it preserves, from the storms, it preserves from lots of, deterioration of the coastal area. So it's not only, the land, but it's also the sea, and our roots are from the sea. And I hope that in the next future, we can talk back, about what you're developing around the ocean. I know it's not the time today, but I'm really excited about, the conversation we had in the past and what you're planning. And this is great. And I really look forward to having you back on this seat, to explain what is your connection with the ocean, because I know that you mentioned the trees, you mentioned the plants, but I know that you're also in roots in the sea, if I may.
Yeah, I think we're all rooted in the sea because we all came from the sea. We all came from microalgae, which is the beginning of life. So, the origin, as you were saying, of life is in the ocean, and the future of life is also in the ocean. It's 2/3 of the planet. It's 2/3 of the air we breathe. It captures more carbon than even the forests. So clearly, and surprisingly, it's we send missions to space and to Mars, but we don't have underwater missions to go and discover the wealth of knowledge that there is in the ocean. I think it would help also maybe make people more aware of the richness and the importance of our ocean.
But Vincent, it's really interesting because what we send in space is coming from ocean, and what will be, the main development in life support system on the moon, on Mars, will come from the ocean. So we are trying to bring and reinvent, the initial Earth condition to recreate atmosphere on these, I would say, sterile planets. So it's really interesting how deep we are connected with the ocean, even in space. Anyway, so one question before I take any of your questions, the audience. Tell us more about your international developments. So far, you are booming in the US. What about the Chinese market? Do you have any strategy to combine these developments worldwide, and how you diversify, the expectations from the different type of clients?
So maybe I need to put things in context. 10 years, the group in the past 10 years has been completely transforming it. We were a European-centric, mail order and retail-centric company. Today, we are a digital-first company with 50% of our sales outside of Europe. So in 10 years already, we've completely transformed the company. We've made 2 acquisitions, which helped us rebalance our geographies. Arbonne in the US, which has given us access to the American market, which is our second market today, and could very well become our first market within a year or two. And Sabon, which has given us access to the Asian market. This being said, and Japan is actually our 7th country today for the group. This being said, we're still very small in Asia. Asia is under 10% of our sales. but it's also where everything is happening today in the beauty world. That's where all the growth of the market is coming. So clearly, yes, it's strategic for us, and we are building a strategy to address it. China, we've been very shy with China for one simple reason, is that to be present on the local market in China, you needed to do animal testing, and which is something that we were the first company in the world to ban animal testing before any country banned it. So it would be a little bit inconsistent if we were to have big operations in China where you need to have animal testing. This being said, this week it was officially announced by the government that we don't need any more, pending a few conditions which still remain to be fully clarified, but that animal testing will not be necessary to penetrate the Chinese market. So we do have a strategy to enter the market. We actually just started last year with Sabon, but through cross-border. So cross-border, so basically selling from abroad into the Chinese market using digital channels. But obviously, it will not be the end of the story, and obviously we would put a lot of focus on China through our own brands and maybe acquisitions of brands that are already in China.
Yeah, because from a Chinese point of view, nature is very important, and the Chinese consumer is very well aware of the potential of natural ingredients. So most of the time they don't make a strong difference between animal and vegetable, and but from a pure benefit point of view, I think that they know very well what are the good plants and how they can use them. So I think that Yves Rocher has something to demonstrate, within the big China area, and to conquer, market share over there, because it's really in their DNA, to understand nature.
No, clearly, and we also feel, we have a responsibility to also, bring our knowledge around sustainability, around responsible consumption to a market which is developing very fast, but also, doing a lot of damage to the environment. So as a mission-driven company, we feel also that we need to bring this knowledge and this spirit to the Chinese market.
So Vincent, I didn't see the time, flying, and we have 3 minutes. So I guess we covered, all the questions that I received, and Jean-Baptiste Wallert, from the Chambre syndicale des algues végétaux, would like, to touch base with you and discuss with you the potential of seaweed. And Jean-Baptiste, I'd be happy also to touch base with you on this, because this is at the heart of biomarine development. But one last question: if tomorrow we bring you a garment, a cloth, a fiber that is made of seaweed, would you consider that for Petit Bateau?
With great pleasure. Yeah, of course. We're Petit Bateau is a bateau. It comes from the sea. So, but beyond that, of course, we're looking at all alternatives. We have a commitment is to use zero plastic at Petit Bateau by 2025. So it's tomorrow. And zero plastic is. It seems like it's easy, but it means all the buttons, all the everything. It's not that easy. So any biomaterial and of course of natural origin is clearly of interest. Yes.
I really hope I can get my vaccine quickly so I can visit you again and have this very enriching conversation about the future. Anyway, thank you so much, Vincent, for this nice interview. We're going to post that on our LinkedIn, on our website, and I will post all the recording. So don't hesitate, to post that, towards your friends. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks from now. We're going to have the trimestrial workshop on marine ingredients with our partners in Norway. It's going to be a challenge because we're going to talk about seaweed, but also marine ingredients. We're going to have the one-to-ones, as you know. So I look forward to welcoming you in 2 weeks. Next week, Ghislaine from Alganel will be on video, and she will explain what Alganel is developing. And Vincent, I will make sure that you talk to her, because she is one of my best assets delivering, contents from the microalgae side.
She actually
Thank you very much.
sent me a message, and I will enter in contact.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody, and bye-bye. Stay tuned. Bye.
Thank you.